Have you ever just looked at a map of the United States and thought, it's kind of weird how a bunch of those western states all joined up at the exact same time? Well, let me tell you, that was no coincidence. It was actually one of the most audacious, high-stakes political power plays in all of American history. So today, let's unpack how this massive gamble to remake the country unfolded, and oh yeah, how it completely blew up in their faces. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? 6 states, less than a year. Between November of 1889 and July of 1890, the U.S. just grew. But you gotta understand, this wasn't really about expansion or manifest destiny. Nope. This was a cold, calculated plan to lock in political control of the entire country for decades to come. All right, so to really get how this all went down, we're gonna break this story into 4 parts. First, we'll set the scene with the political fight that was brewing. Then, we'll get into the wild gamble itself. After that, we'll watch them literally remake the map. And finally, we'll stick around for the really juicy part, the totally unintended, shocking aftermath. Okay, so let's dial the clock back. We're in the late 1880s. America is a deeply divided nation. And one political party, well, they're starting to feel the ground shifting right under their feet. They're getting nervous. Now, the heart of this whole conflict was really about money. On one side, you had the Republican Party, backed by all the big industrialists. They loved high tariffs, right? Made foreign goods more expensive, which was great for American factories. But on the other side, you had the Democrats, who argued, hey, wait a minute, those tariffs just make everything more expensive for the average person. This wasn't just some minor disagreement. It was the political battle of the day. And this all came to a head in the 1888 presidential election. And this is where things get weird. The Republican, Benjamin Harrison, he won the presidency. He gets to move into the White House. But he actually lost the popular vote to the other guy, Grover Cleveland. So you can see the problem, right? The Republicans were in power, but they knew for a fact that they didn't have the support of the majority of American voters. That's a very shaky place to be.
The Republicans could absolutely see the writing on the wall. They were losing their grip in the big populous cities back east. So they started looking for new voters, and fast. And where did they look? They looked west. They saw all these growing territories full of what they hoped were potential Republican voters. They saw a chance to build a kind of political firewall that could protect their power for years, no matter what happened back east.
And that brings us to the plan itself, the great statehood gamble. This wasn't just about winning one election. Oh no. This was a plan to fundamentally reshape the political landscape of the entire country.
It was basically a 4-part strategy. First, and this was the big one, create a permanent Republican majority in the Senate. You know, every new state gets 2 senators. Second, they wanted to stack the deck in the Electoral College for the next presidential election in 1892. Third, they had to protect those precious high tariffs from the Democrats. And finally, the goal was to just lock down the entire Western region as a Republican stronghold. It was a total, comprehensive strategy for long-term domination. And listen, they were not even being subtle about it. Just check out this quote from a newspaper that supported them at the time. They are openly bragging about creating an unbeatable 10-vote majority in the Senate. They were basically publishing their game plan for everyone to see. That just tells you how confident and how ambitious they really were.
So the plan was set, and they did not waste a single second. They moved with, just astonishing speed to make it happen. They were literally about to redraw the map of the United States.
Just look at this timeline. In November of 1889, in just over a single week, bam, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington all become states. Then, just a few months later, in July of 1890, they ran through Wyoming and Idaho. It was an absolutely unprecedented flurry of state-making.
And the result? Well, in less than 1 year, you've got 6 brand new states added to the Union. Just like that, the country was fundamentally bigger. But here's what really mattered to them. Those 6 new states meant 12 new seats in the U.S. Senate. 12! This was the real prize. They figured with those extra senators, they could control the country's laws for a generation. And of course, it didn't stop there. This whole maneuver also added a massive 18 new electoral votes to the map. They were betting everything that this would be enough to avoid another squeaker like the 1888 election and basically guarantee them the presidency in 1892. But, this wasn't exactly a clean process. It got dirty. For example, when it looked like Montana's new legislature might actually be controlled by Democrats, the Republicans in charge just threw out a bunch of Democratic votes. They claimed fraud, of course, and made sure they stayed in control. It was absolutely ruthless. And the rule bending just kept on coming. See, there was a long-established minimum population for a territory to become a state, 60,000 people. But Wyoming and Idaho, they were rushed into the Union with populations way, way below that number. Wyoming didn't even have 21,000 people. It was pretty clear that the political goal was way more important than actually following the rules. So the plan worked, right? They did it. The Republicans had secured their political firewall. Well, this is where our story takes a really fascinating turn, because their brilliant, foolproof plan was about to completely backfire on them. The public started to catch on, and they were not happy. Magazines like Harper's Weekly started pointing out how incredibly unbalanced this new map was. I mean, think about this for a second. You've got about 105,000 people total in Wyoming and Idaho, and they get 4 United States senators. Meanwhile, a single congressional district in New York, with almost double that population, gets 0 senators. This started to look deeply, deeply unfair to a lot of Americans. And all this wasn't happening in a vacuum. At the exact same time, the economy started to tank, and a lot of people blamed those Republican high tariffs. The Harrison administration also started to get this reputation for being kind of lavish and totally out of touch with the struggles of regular folks. It was a perfect storm of public anger just waiting to explode. And in the 1890 midterm elections, that storm hit. Voters didn't just reject the Republicans, they absolutely decimated them. As you can see here, the party got wiped out in the House of Representatives. Democrats took over by more than a 2-to-1 margin. It was a total and complete repudiation of everything they'd been doing. And get this, even in the places where the plan was supposed to be foolproof, it just crumbled. A new populist movement of farmers and workers called the Alliance started sweeping through the very states the Republicans had just created to be their strongholds. That ironclad Senate majority they were bragging about, it shrank down to just 4 seats. And in the final twist of the knife, 3 of the new senators from their brand new states were actually opposed to their high tariff policy. The final beautiful irony came in 1892. Remember, this whole massive statehood scheme was designed to guarantee a Republican victory. Instead, what happened? Grover Cleveland, the guy who lost the election but won the people's vote 4 years earlier, came roaring back to the White House. And on top of that, the Democrats took full control of Congress for the first time since before the Civil War. The plan had achieved the exact opposite of its goal.
So the map of America was permanently changed, all because of a political gamble that went wrong. And it leaves us with a really critical question, one that's just as relevant today as it was back then. When a political party starts rewriting the rules of the game just to make sure they can win, who is it that really loses in the end?